What's up, guys, and welcome back. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and today, Cliffy B makes his triumphant return to gaming. Okay, really quickly before I get started, you'll probably notice you're watching some footage of Shovel Knight on the Wii U, and let me tell you, this game is so freaking badass. Shovel Knight is amazing. I'm sure you've heard about it. There's a lot of hype and buzz surrounding the game right now. The reviews have been mostly off the charts, and it is well-deserved. This game is better than I ever could have hoped. It is a Nintendo and PC exclusive, so it is only on the Wii U, the 3DS, which I actually bought both versions to support the game, and then it's also available on the PC. If you have any or all of those platforms, I implore you to pick this game up. It is a remarkable and wonderful love letter to old school 8-bit gaming that is paying an amazing homage to all of the different tropes and characteristics and fundamentals of that time in gaming, which I myself did grow up experiencing when it was all brand new. I'm very fortunate. It's interesting too. I'm not going to get into a whole review. I'm sort of considering if it's maybe a game that I want to do an actual review for because it is so fresh and fantastic and I just love it so much more than I ever thought I could. But I don't really, reviews aren't really my thing. I've dabbled in it here and there. I've never really been able to figure out how I want to do like the video review format. The written review I was doing for a while for my old website, and that was really fantastic. I was good at that. The video thing, I haven't really figured out a formula. I've tried it here and there, like with my Lords of Shadow 2 and my Donkey Kong reviews and stuff, but I just don't know that it's really my thing. Ultimately, though, it's amazing. I know a lot of my listeners and viewers, I should say, and a lot of people out there, a lot of gamers today, are pretty young, or at least young enough to have not grown up in the 8-bit and 16-bit days of gaming. And, excuse me. First and foremost, I have to say that is a shame. Trust me, you missed out big time. You missed out on all the forefathers of gaming and everything that made today's current relevant gaming important. That is where it all came from. Those were the DNA building blocks. And second, you might okay, so Shovel Knight is so good that even if you didn't grow up with those games, I had to figure out how I wanted to put this, sorry. Even if you didn't grow up with those games and in that time of gaming, I think you would still be able to appreciate it. And that is a barrier. A lot of the retro games coming out nowadays, even some of the best, I don't really think they bridge that gap enough. But Shovel Knight is this amazing, perfect amalgamation of everything that made old school gaming great and still feeling fresh and new and relevant to today's gaming fundamentals. And the way you level up in the map system, and it's just amazing. The game just feels like the best of Mega Man, Zelda 2, Castlevania, so many other games, kind of like Ninja Gaiden. I mean, there's just so many different games, and it's like everything that made gaming back then great, and it's happening again in Shovel Knight, and it's just that good. I'm going to stop, kind of gushing about it. I just was really excited to tell everyone how great this game is and show some footage. So the next couple of videos I'll put up, you'll probably be seeing footage of Shovel Knight. I hope it doesn't bore you, but more than anything, I really hope it just convinces you to pick up the game, whether it's the Wii U, the 3DS, or the PC version. Frickin' play it. It's amazing. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get on to Cliff Bleszinski. Okay, so as my introduction and title suggested, it appears that Cliff Bleszinski has finally announced his return to gaming. He's finally coming out of retirement, coming back to making all sorts of new games and doing who knows what. There's a lot to talk about on this subject simply because of who Cliff Bleszinski is, how important he's been to gaming in the past, and the decisions he seems to be making going forward. I'm actually trying to pull up the Twitter post. My internet messed up for a minute, so I'm trying to refresh the page so I could actually read the post he wrote that actually officially told the world that he was going to be coming back. It should be noted that I actually love Cliff Bleszinski. He founded Epic Games. I loved Epic Games. Gears of War is one of my favorite franchises of the last generation, and as far as straight-up shooters, it's like top 1, 2, and or 3 all time of shooters. I mean, I seriously love the genre, and I think Gears of War is the very top. I mean, it looked so great. It blew the doors open on so many things. It was the first building block on top of what Resident Evil 4 had put in place the generation before. This whole new third-person shooter mechanic, and then added the cover-based thing that was pretty new at the time. I mean, really, it's pretty common now, and we can crack jokes about it with games like Uncharted and whatnot, Mass Effect, the way those things happen. But really, Gears of War did that. That was the first game to make it something, and I just love the games. They're just simple but amazingly well put together. So I've always liked Cliff Bleszinski. He's also, I think, a really smart, well-spoken guy. I think he understands people, he understands the gaming industry, and he understands real game development and game making. I mean, he's a talented guy and a smart guy. And I've always found him just engaging and charming and entertaining to watch and to listen to speak about gaming. I really like the guy. So When he left, that was really kind of a sad thing for me because of how much I liked him. But here we are a couple of years later now, and he's finally announced that he's coming back. The Twitter post, I finally got it pulled up. What he said earlier today, or yesterday, I think, sorry. Maybe today or yesterday. This was yesterday. He said, quote, "I'm officially coming out of retirement to make video games again. Stay tuned here for the details in the next 7 days." And here being Twitter, because again, this was a Twitter post. Totally caught people off guard for the most part. But there's another actually really interesting aspect that I want to also touch on about this. So even though, yes, this is mostly a surprise to people and to us, what was really interesting is in doing some research before making the video today, I found out that back in February, he actually made a comment about making games again. And his general broad quote at the time was that he didn't want to come back into making disc-based games. Apparently, he likened the kind of games he wants to make going forward, if he ever did at the time, to games like Rust and Minecraft as the kind of place that he saw the industry going and where he sees relevant game making sort of existing going forward. Interesting quote. I'm not too familiar with Rust other than I know it's like a first-person game, and I watched a trailer before I made this so I could really understand what he was talking about. And it's a similar concept to Minecraft where it's kind of like player creation tools are given to you and you make your own life and world kind of within the game world, and you craft things and you make a house and you shoot some deer in the woods. And I mean, I totally get the kind of game and modding tool development community it's trying to appeal to, just like Minecraft. I know those are really, really good games. People love them to death, but Minecraft is a phenomenon unto itself. Rust has been a very popular thing. I've heard about it for a while, even though I haven't gotten into it. I've certainly known about it. And so I get why they're popular because they're good. What's kind of tough for me is that I don't really like games like that too much. I'm more, for the most part, on the big blockbuster kind of front, at least when thinking about Cliffy B and the kind of things I want him to make, I should say, because obviously I just spent the first 3.5 minutes gushing about a very indie title, Shovel Knight. But when it comes to like what I'm used to from Cliffy B and the kind of games that I still mostly prefer to play, it really is those big blockbuster games, those next-gen, power-pushing kinds of things, I don't always need good graphics, but I like good graphics. But I also just like the big, bold stuff, I like things like a Zelda, a Gears of War, an Uncharted, a Mass Effect. I want that kind of stuff. And that's what Cliffy B has been giving us the last 10 years until his retirement. So hearing him say this is a little bit disappointing, but I'm trying to still take it, find the silver lining in the sense that somebody who I really like as a game developer is still coming back to the industry. I'm glad the guy took the couple of years off for whatever that he needed. I know he spent a lot of time with his wife and was, dipping his hands in other sort of affairs, and he's been slowly becoming more and more recognizable as a public figure within gaming over the last year or so, popping up in some interviews, and whatnot. So, it's great to know that he's coming back. Even though it doesn't seem like he wants to make the kind of games that I really want him to make overall, it's not really my job to tell him what to make. I mean, he gets to make whatever he wants. He is his own man. He is his own developer. He knows what he's inspired to make and passionate about. And I only just want him, just like I'd want anyone who creates gaming or music or movies or whatever, to just make what you're passionate about and what you're inspired to make. That is most important. I am a musician and an artist myself, so I respect the creation tool to anyone else who wants to do it in life. But that applies to Cliffy B, but I'm getting strangely philosophical here, so I'll try not to do that anymore. But the one last thing I want to touch on before I wrap up the video today is the fact that he mentions part of the reason I think he said he wanted to make games like Rust and Minecraft and where those things lie is because he feels that that's where the gaming industry is really pushing towards, and that's where the gaming community is mostly going towards. That A, makes me sad, and B, I don't agree with. I know that he understands the gaming industry far better than I do. I'm mostly really just a fan who does this show on YouTube, but I just don't think that that's really where gaming is headed, quote unquote, as in that's the end point. I don't think that that's maybe the end goal that the gaming industry is shooting towards. I do think that community and that style of gameplay and those abilities that these kind of games provide to gamers is certainly going to only get bigger and bigger because people love it now. It's only a couple of years old at this point, not including the regular PC modding community. So you guys, I'm not including you. I just meant games that are created around that, like Minecraft, where that is the building block for that game in and of itself. And yes, I do think that those kind of games and experiences and that idea is going to continue to grow, even on the console front. Look at Little Big Planet and Project Spark and stuff like that. It's the same kind of concept, only more tailor-made for a video game console as opposed to a PC. So, that will not go away. I think that community is going to remain huge and only get huger, quote unquote. It's only going to get bigger, more and more people involved. But I don't think that that's where gaming is headed. I think that still the big, bold console stuff, the AAA stuff, the graphics pushing technical prowess, next gen stuff for consoles and PC, that is really never going to go away. I do think certain franchises, mostly Nintendo's, are going to keep the console game relevant. No matter what happens with Sony and Microsoft, I feel like because games like Zelda and Mario and Metroid are always going to be so important to the gaming community, both casual and hardcore, that it will literally, I'm making this claim now in 2014. You just wait a couple of years and see if I'm right. I am making the claim now that is going to help keep the entire console market rooted firmly in its place, even with its ups and downs, and if it ebbs and flows over the next couple of years. I feel like it's never going to go away, at least not for a very long time, if ever. And for as long as it sticks around, it's going to be because those properties keep it there. Things also like Uncharted and what else? Anything else Naughty Dog does for Sony? Some of the Halo. The other guys still have their own properties that are very important to console gaming too, and they will be around and help. God of War is one, but ultimately, I think it's Nintendo stuff. And even beyond that, really what I'm trying to get at is that I don't think the console stuff is going to go away. And these kinds of things that the Minecraft community creates isn't really tailor-made for the console community. So I think that they're both going to continue to exist and just carry each other forward. And they're just going to become part, or I should say remain part, of the gaming picture, the larger gaming landscape. So to go back to what Cliffy B was saying about how he feels like that's where gaming is going, I'm going to reiterate, I just don't really agree. Obviously, the community's there, so if that's where he wants to go, he's going to find plenty of success. He could probably do that to the rest of his days and then actually retire when he turns 65 and just be making games like that for that community. I mean, it is that big and it will become that much bigger. But I don't think that this is the end game. It is sad to me, like I also said a couple minutes ago, that that's how he looks at things and maybe that's the reason he's going that way. I would like to think it's more that that's just where he's feeling his creative juices flowing towards, that's the stuff he wants to make and is inspired to make. But regardless, that's what he seems to want to do. Now, he mentions in his Twitter post, stay tuned here in the next 7 days for details. And the disc-based thing in that Minecraft and Rust comment was a couple of months ago. For all we know, maybe he's, moving towards both ends of gaming. Maybe he's certainly wants to do that and is going to start his own little small indie studio, but maybe he also is going to get involved with something else bigger. Maybe he does still want to make disc-based stuff, console stuff, the big, bold AAA kind of blockbuster stuff. I mean, who knows? He's got the talent and the pedigree to do so. He's got the knowledge to do so. His name is big enough. People know he's a smart, talented guy to have on their team working for them, making games. He's going to probably have his pick of the litter as far as where he wants to go and what he wants to do. So, at the end of the day, and finally wrapping this video up, I think it's just going to be interesting to see over the course of the next 7 days on Twitter what Cliffy B says and what he ends up announcing that he's actually coming back to do. And that's it for the Cliff Bleszinski news for today. Of course, if you like what I'm doing, you can feel free to subscribe to Rule of Two Review. Follow the links below to the Facebook page and like and follow that. If you like the video, you can like and share it. Share your comments and your thoughts about Cliffy B and the whole subject below. And thanks for tuning in. Of course, I will catch you next time.